All right, in this video, we're going to cover the basics of just setting up a laptop, making sure that it is ready for doing programming work for an FRC robot or for programming camp, working with your XRP or Romy, any of those kinds of things. Just briefly, I would recommend at the onset to make sure that your computer is up to date with the latest Windows updates as a good practice before you get going on the other stuff, and any drivers and things like that. Try to keep those up to date, especially on those older team laptops and such, and that will help keep everything running smoothly. Let's briefly talk about what if you have an old version, because at the time of recording, the current version would be for the 2025 competition year. They release a new version of the WPILib tools and Driver Station every single year, so you need to replace or update every single year, at least once annually, and then if there's a mid-season update, you might have to update again, and then the old versions will not be applicable. So you can see on this example computer, we have the WPILib for the 2023 season installed, and we're not going to want to use that. If you need to clean up an old version, if you just want to get rid of it, there's not really much point in keeping it around, because the only way forward is forward with FRC. Old versions aren't compatible with new versions. You have to update, etc., etc. So you can right click to get the context menu and choose open file location to jump to where in the file system that installation is. And then if you use the navigation window here, you can go back to the WPILib folder in the users directory, and you'll see that they will create a folder for every year, and the 2023 folder is here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I would recommend, especially if it's 2 years old, definitely it's no good to you. If you try to use a 2023 project in 2025, it won't work. You'll have to update it, blah, blah, blah. So we're just going to get rid of that altogether so that there isn't confusion and multiple versions of those tools here. Once that's deleted, these shortcuts don't go to anything, so anything that's marked for the 2023 year on our desktop or anywhere else you have shortcuts, we can go ahead and delete those. And that's the WPILib stuff. The driver station will be able to update in place. So that will be just a little bit easier. I'm going to pull up a window here and just show briefly. There'll probably be links accompanying this video. There's two main things that we need to install or update. One of them is the WPILib suite. If you come to this page in WPILib.org, you'll be able to find a link to download the installer. Be careful, because sometimes you might accidentally get a link to an old version of this page. They have a versioning system in place here, so don't accidentally end up on one of these old pages. Make sure you're on stable or latest. Stable should be the right one to have that download link. I've seen that trip some people up. Noting that Windows 10 support is ending after this year. We're on a Windows 10 computer, but just keep an eye on that type of stuff as well. I'm going to go ahead and plug in a flash drive rather than do this download live, because I already have it. I'm going from computer to computer. I'm going to grab Robotics 2025, and we're just going to copy that to my desktop. Let that go in the background there. But you'll want to, if you're setting up your own computer, do this download, follow these instructions here, which we're going to step through in this video too. But between this video and the instructions on this page, you'll get the WPILib tools set up. Similar with the game tools, that's just a different page here, and that's a separate install from National Instruments. So you go to their website and download that. They might make you create an account. The account's free. There's nothing in either of these programs that you have to pay for. So if they try to make it look like there's something that you need to pay for. Don't do it. Everything about this is free, but you'd follow these instructions as well for installing the game tools or updating an existing installation. But in my case, I'm going to go ahead and use a folder of things that I've already downloaded. This is the same stuff you would get from here. I don't think the order really matters, but we've already downloaded the ISO for WPILib for the 2025 version. So you'll want to mount that as a virtual disk and then go ahead and run the installer. Depending on the computer, that might take a moment to go ahead and pop open, so we'll just wait patiently for that. And it can take some time before that installer actually loads up if you're on an older computer. There it goes. All right, next up, we're just going to step through this menu here. You usually want to install everything. I'd recommend installing for all the users just in case if you don't really know what your use case is. And then usually you're going to do the download option. Don't mind me because I already have a download of this ready to go. So if you do have that ready to go, you could do that. But we can just do the download option for an example because it's really pretty quick. You need to be connected to the internet for this to work, and then you'll be able to continue on through the installation. It will install VS Code, the documentations, some of the tools on the side, but this will not include the Driver Station. That's a separate program. And in fact, maybe while that's going, maybe we'll set that up on the side. Since we have a version that's already here, but if you download it from the National Instruments site, that's not my folder, desktop, robotics, tools. This is the installer that you'll get from the National Instruments site. If you follow that link and you go to the ni.com website, just make sure that you get the latest game tools, the latest and newest version. You might have to make that free account, like I said, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't cost anything. And then you'll be able to download this ISO. There again, we're going to mount that, and I'll run the installer for that. It's probably going to need an update to what they call the package manager, and it will require then installing the newer version of the Driver Station. How would you know what version you have? So I see there's an existing version here. I'm just going to run that briefly here and show you. Make sure that we're approving all of our UAC prompts there. So when the Driver Station starts up, you'll see a version right in the white top bar there, and it says 23.1. We saw that we uninstalled the 2023 version of the WPILib VS Code stuff, so it's not surprising that we also have the 2023 version of the Driver Station on here. And like I said, that all has to be kept up to date. So I'm going to close the shuffleboard. I'm glad that this popped up so that I can mention it briefly. This is some confusing thing that pops up and you just have to ignore it. I'm not really sure why this pops up. This has to do with some entanglement between other things that National Instruments provides to other entities besides FIRST Robotics Competition, but you can basically just ignore this as it pops up. It's not something that we have to worry about, so I would happily cancel out of it. WPILib is still installing in the background there. And it looks like I've got something jammed up here, probably because it's waiting on these license agreements. Let's close a couple of things because we got maybe too much going on. Close out the driver station. Just remember, it was version 23.1. We'll accept these agreements and click Next. First, it's going to want to update the package manager, so we'll let it go through and do that. Meanwhile, we can see that our install of VS Code has finished, and I still can't select that because of an issue with whatever that is. Let's just try and fix that real quick. See what else is running. The dashboard. Oh, pardon me. We're just going to end task on that. See if that tidies things up for us. Yeah, there's the vision development module. If we can't, there it went. Sometimes you just have to force things down. So the package manager updated for National Instruments. Now we're going to go through, accept our agreements again, and this time it's going to install, as you can see, the 2025 patch 1 version of the game tools. We'll let it do that. That will zip along for a moment there. I think I'll be done with this folder. You can see now we have a 2025 VS Code link instead of the 2023 version that we started with. So that's a good sign that we've got the right code editor, and the 2025 WPILib tools are all in here if you need any of those. But they are separate from the game tools, the driver station provided by National Instruments. And of course, depending on your team, there could be even more tools that you need to go seek out, like the Rev hardware client or the Limelight Vision, like the Limelight Finder tools. But if you want to be able to do code for your robot and then to be able to operate the robot from this computer, then you need the latest version of VS Code and the latest version of the driver station for the year of the season that you're in. And then you just need to go through these steps like we are to keep them up to date. We'll just wait for the installation to finish here on the game tools. It'll be another moment. All right, now it will ask to do a restart. I'm going to skip that for now, but make sure that you do actually follow that step because it will be important. But I'm going to X out of this because I'm recording and I don't want to lose the recording. But I'm pretty sure even without restarting, if we now open up what appears to be the same link, but it's actually now going to a newer version of the driver station. If we run that instead of 2023.1, I'm expecting to see a 25 corresponding with the current year 2025. And there it is right there. So that's how you know that you have the right up-to-date version of the driver station for your season for that year and for any activities that you might be doing with it, because you really can't use older versions for very long. Again, when this trial thing pops up, just continue to ignore that. There isn't really any way to prevent this that I'm aware of. Just cancel out of that. There's nothing vision-wise that you have to pay for National Instruments or anything to worry about with that. And whatever these little things are, they will either go away on their own or we will kill them off with Task Manager. Some of this stuff can be a little bit buggy, but you can always go into Task Manager and force something down if you need to. See, it kind of looks like the driver station is still running as well, and it shouldn't be, but we are using a particularly old computer here for this example, so old Windows 10, some of this stuff happens. But this roughly outlines the process of making sure that you are up to date so that you'll be ready for competition or a programming camp or whatever you're doing. We now have the latest version of Visual Studio Code with the WPILib plugins and add-ons. We got the latest version of the Driver Station. So you should be pretty much set and ready to go there. And again, that's just kind of following through the steps as described on these pages on the WPILib.org doc site. Go through the installation guide, go through the game tools. Don't worry about Python for our purposes or LabVIEW, but the game tools and the WPILib and their instructions go through really the same stuff that I just did in this video, but it's another resource to look at for reading through what steps are necessary there. As you saw, it's relatively quick and easy, other than maybe having to quick create an account to be able to download that, or you might be able to get help from a mentor on your team getting a copy of that ISO file, and then you'd be good to go. So that's all for now.